Way of the Hunter has given us its very first African reserve in Tikamoon Plains. The second I saw the first trailer, I was already thinking about Vurhonga Savannah in The Hunter Call of the Wild. They are both two African maps, and I know quite a large chunk of the community were interested in the similarities and differences between the two, and ultimately, which is the better African reserve. Today, we are putting the two against each other. I will be breaking down 4 different aspects of each reserve, and ultimately, we should have a winner. Story is such an important part of any game, and it can really leave the player with either a positive or negative reaction towards the game as a whole, depending on the quality of the story. Surprisingly though, both Vurhonga Savannah and Tikamoon Plains have stories that aren't over the top, and they're quite modern and overall are a really good experience when it comes to hunting game stories. Gone are the days of the older arcade shooters like the Cabela's Dangerous Hunts games that had the most over-the-top narratives. That being said though, I do kind of miss those hunting stories. Anyway, let's talk about the stories within Vurhonga Savannah and Tikamoon Plains. Spoilers ahead for both games. The story in Vurhonga Savannah starts with you investigating a poaching site and removing some traps. You are then introduced to the importance of historical relics to the area by looking at some cave paintings and their restoration. After that, you head to a water source to check for a trace of a disease that could put the entire reserve at risk. Whilst that is getting done, you've been asked to search for a missing person and find yourself in the middle of somebody poaching. You follow the gunshots and you find a rhino that was killed for its horn. After your search for the poacher goes cold, you look for the ghost of a jackal. You find its skull and you bury it underneath a tree to lift a curse in the area. This was quite an enjoyable story, and the experience of following a ghost jackal was actually unlike anything else you will find in The Hunter Call of the Wild. That being said though, I wasn't the only one who saw a model of a rhino in the game, and instead of feeling sorry for it, I was kind of just hoping that one day it would get released into the Vurhonga Savannah. Overall though, it was a really good story and it was very well scripted. On to the story of Tikamoon Plains. The story starts at a lodge where you look for guests that you are supposed to guide on a blue wildebeest hunt. Once you find that they have all cancelled, you decide to go on a hunt for yourself. When you're harvesting your kill, you hear gunshots in the distance. Upon exploration, you find that 3 lions have been shot, 2 of them are dead, and you look for the 3rd, but its trail goes cold. You head back to the lodge to find that a gun has gone missing. After all that, you end up taking a break and building a swing for your daughter, taking some photos of an area for an influencer, and you even participate in a bit of a time trial around the surrounding area. After some fun, you head out on a bow hunt for a Cape buffalo. This then turns into completing small tasks for the guests and trying to help expand the business. The story then ends with you hunting a man-eater lion. The story has a very interesting introduction, but I feel like it gets a little bit messy in the middle, with missions that don't really link into each other. The final hunt of this story though is really cool, and you're able to hunt a lion with a unique fur variation. Overall, a good story, but the meat in the middle was a little bit of a puzzle for me. Vurhonga Savannah's story is a much more enjoyable, well-planned experience compared to that of Way of the Hunter. I left the story learning more about the region and the impacts of poaching compared to Tikamoon Plains, where I learnt about the needs of an influencer and how people can't be trusted. I enjoy both story missions, but I'd recommend the story within Vurhonga Savannah over what you would get in Tikamoon Plains. Vurhonga Savannah wins this round. Thank you so much for watching the video so far. If you're liking the content, please like the content and consider subscribing. Only about 9% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed, so please hit that sub button. Let's get back into the video. Both games have a great choice of animals when it comes to hunting within their reserve, but there are some differences that definitely split them apart. The animals that you can find on both Vurhonga Savannah and Tikamoon Plains include springbok, warthog, blue wildebeest, gemsbok, Cape buffalo, and lions. In only The Hunter Call of the Wild, you'll hunt Eurasian widgeon, scrub hare, side-striped jackal, and lesser kudu, whilst you'll only be able to find black wildebeest, greater kudu, Egyptian goose, spotted hyena, honey badgers, and helmeted guinea fowl in Way of the Hunter's Tikamoon Plains. For those of you who are counting at home, The Hunter Call of the Wild has 10 different animals in Vurhonga Savannah, whilst Way of the Hunter's Tikamoon Plains is able to boast 12 different species. The advantage of animals present in Tikamoon Plains will already give Way of the Hunter a slight advantage. I just wanted to let all of you know that the animals shown in both games look absolutely amazing and can't be split on how the animals' models look as well as their animations. Nine Rocks Games and Expansive Worlds have done marvelous jobs bringing these animals to life. Way of the Hunter has a selection of unique animals that I know would appeal to the majority of hunters out there. When most people think of hunting in Africa, they think of big game animals like lions, Cape buffalo, and more. With animals like black wildebeest, spotted hyena, and greater kudu only being found in Way of the Hunter, it's pretty much safe to say that they have the better list. There are definitely people out there though who appreciate small game hunting, and the scrub hare, Eurasian widgeon, and side-striped jackals might be exciting for them, but I know that most of you who play these hunting games would rather take out a large and imposing black wildebeest or track down a dangerous group of spotted hyena rather than taking a shot at an overgrown rabbit. If you disagree with anything that I've said, I would love for you to give me some reasons why in the comments, but based on my assessment, I will have to say that Tikamoon Plains wins this round. A telltale sign of a good hunting game is a realistic environment. I feel so much more immersed when I am hunting in an area that's true to life and could be something that you might encounter in the real world. I did notice that according to official information, Tikamoon Plains is classified as an African reserve, whilst Vurhonga Savannah is more specifically located in Southwest Africa. My time in the Vurhonga Savannah is always enjoyable. It's full of different biomes that all just make sense. This could either be the plains, the swamps, or even the watering holes where you can find your prey. I still have a vivid memory of being so scared when I was walking around in the tall grass on my first day within the reserve. This was because of the chance of being attacked by a lion. It's moments like these where you have chills up and down your neck and your heart rate that's rising, even though you are thousands of miles away from the African savannah. I really like Vurhonga Savannah's environment, and it's proven that expansive worlds have crafted a gorgeous reserve. I haven't spent as much time in Tikamoon Plains as I have in Vurhonga Savannah, but I have thoroughly enjoyed my time thus far in Way of the Hunter's depiction of Africa. I've hunted along the riverways that are teeming with floral life and even trekked across barren plains looking for some big game. The environment has also been so well thought out and researched, and it is a great representation of what I would expect the African wilderness to look like. I'm not sure exactly where it's based, but I'm sure that one of you in the comments will let me know. My favorite place though throughout Tikamoon has to be the river system. Overall, Nine Rocks Games has made sure that they have made the most accurate representation of an African reserve, and I am sure that every African can appreciate the level of detail within this reserve. As for a winner, it was difficult to choose for the environment. I do have to say that personally, I like Way of the Hunter's Tikamoon Plains, as I think that the river system within the African wild really adds character, and that's why it might edge it out for me. Without it though, both reserves are bang on and are worth an equal amount of playtime based on their environments. The size of a reserve can be a deal breaker or a deal maker for some of you, as the more space you have to hunt could result in either a great portion of a reserve, or it could just be a wide open mess that lacks any life at all. There are plenty of times where developers will brag about the size of their game's map only for it to lack any detail and be quite boring. A good example of a map that's probably way too big for itself is the game No Man's Sky. A really good way of putting it that I once heard is that it's a massive ocean that's only 1 foot deep. Anyway, when it comes to Tikamoon Plains and the Vurhonga Savannah, take this with a grain of salt. From what I was able to find, Vurhonga's map size is about 64 square miles, whilst Tikamoon Plains has a map size of 100 square kilometers. I understand that most of you hunters out there deal in freedom units and aren't exactly sure what kilometers are, so I took the liberty of converting it for you. 100 square kilometers is equivalent to 38.6 square miles, and 64 square miles is equivalent to 165.7 square kilometers. This would mean that the Vurhonga Savannah is 65% larger than Way of the Hunter's Tikamoon Plains. Again, something that we should all live by is that size does not matter, but when it's 65%, maybe it does. The Hunter Call of the Wild takes this round by a sizable amount. If you are keeping score, you've probably worked out that the score is 2-all. I understand that no one likes a draw, but to be honest, that's how I feel. Pros and cons, but I'm sure that you'll need to check them out for yourself, as they are equally great. Make sure that you check out one of those videos that are on your screen. The one on the left was chosen just for you, and I hunt every Tikamoon Plain animal with the video on the right.